I warned you last week what happens when you feed seminarians. They tend to return, and like squirrels, they never come alone. So Tim brought two more with us today. We have Ian and Carter joining us for these masses before they head up to begin their college seminary up at Bishop White. So please feel free to greet them after and keep them in your prayers. Question: what is the most powerful weapon the world has ever seen? Is it the rock, the stick, the sword, the gun, the bomb, the media? All false. It's the woman. The woman is one of the most powerful weapons that this world has ever seen. And it's, as this gospel makes very clear in this exchange between Christ and the Canaanite woman. And this is a sort of a hidden, subtle, mysterious power that the woman has to go straight to the heart of a man and move him from the inside out. It's called the feminine mystique. And this is a subject I know a lot about. You should take my word for it. So I'm 32 years old, I'm a man, and I'm celibate. That basically makes me an expert on the subject of femininity. All right? Okay, so there's a lot I do not know, I'll admit that, but I do know this, that women are powerful. And it's a power that's very different than that of men. Because men, we go straight to the head, we just work with logic, or we'll go to the fist and we'll work with power. Women have a way of bypassing all of that and going straight through to the heart untouched and inspiring action from the inside out. I've experienced this multiple times. I wouldn't be a priest if it were just for Jesus. Jesus tried for so many years to get me to be a priest. It was an epic failure. Then his mother walked in. Game over. I was in seminary a week later. And that's how I have experienced it so many times. The most inspiring, encouraging, and motivating people I have met in my years as a priest so far have principally been women. They have deep power to inspire men to goodness, especially holy nuns. Wink, all right? Think about it. So I'd like to reflect a little bit about what is this feminine mystique? Where do women have the power to move men from within? And this all things I think is encapsulated in a movie line quite well. Call it from the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. The mother tells her daughter who's about to get married at one point, she says, "Remember, the man may be the head of the household." But all the women are quoting this with me. I have no idea why they understand this so well. The man might be the head of the household, but the woman is the neck. And she can move the head whichever way she pleases. And great theologian and philosopher of our times, Peter Kreeft, he talked about why this is. He says something very similar. The heart is like a woman and the head is like a man. And although man is the head of woman, woman is the heart of man. And she turns man's head because she turns his heart. And that's just it. Nobody else in this world has greater power to penetrate into the very depths of a man, to go to his very heart and move him into action from the inside out than a woman. And like any power, that can be utilized in different ways. One woman came up to me after last Mass and she said, "You gave us a lot of credit, Father, but always remember we can use that power for bad too." And it's like, don't I know it? But it's a power nonetheless. So where does this power originate in the woman? And the first psalm that came to my mind when I thought about that question is, "A body you have prepared for me, O Lord." Psalm 40, a body you have prepared for me. Women have been prepared with a body that is so unique in this world that gives rise to the expression of their whole being, because they're the only creatures on this earth who can bring forth new life. And their whole being is an expression of that gift. So just as women can conceive, they have a much higher sensitivity, especially to the child within them. And when that child passes out into the world, that knowledge translates into an intuitive wisdom into all of creation around us. So women see deeper. And that's also why women have a deeper level of compassion. Because they see deeper, they feel deeper, so they love deeper. Who has a stronger willpower, men or women? Why is it silent in here? You know the answer to that. Every wife has to know the answer to that. Women have a stronger willpower. That's why at Christ's passion, who remained on Calvary with him? All the men fled, the women remained. John cheated, he held Mary's hand. Women remain very faithful because their love is so deep. And this is a power that flows from a woman's being even before she's conscious of it. And you think about a baby girl. Like a baby girl is the epitome of innocence. And her innocence alone has power to go into the very depths of a man and change him into good without her even knowing it. I knew a man once who he was living a very criminal life. Like he was in and out of prison, jail all the time. And it did not matter how many times he got in trouble. He was just like, this is the life I've chosen. This is the way I am. Nothing's going to change it. For years. Then he had a baby. She happened to be a female, a girl. Within months, he dropped everything. For good. And when asked why, he said, it was the first time my little girl looked at me. I saw myself reflected in her eyes. And even if she didn't know the life that I was living, I couldn't take it. I couldn't take her eyes. I had to change my life. That's power. And same with young girls. No one inspires young men to grow up faster than young girls they're attracted to. I think Romeo, what he says to Juliet at one point, can apply to any young man in love. He says, alas, there lies more peril in thine eye than 20 swords of my enemy. There lies more peril in thine eye than 20 swords of my enemy. In other words, your judgment upon me alone does me more damage, makes me more afraid than anything else. That's why when a man, when he's attracted to a woman, what happens when she looks at him? He drops his gaze. Why is that? Because men feel their nudity, their vulnerability, when women they're attracted to look at them because they say, I have to get my life together. I have to get myself together so I can earn this person I desire so much. I was talking to a man the other day. He said, the best thing that you can ever do to kind of get your house in order, to clean up your yard, is get your daughter a boyfriend. It's like free slave labor until marriage. That's power. And it's also why in the church, you look at church history, I think women have converted more men to the Catholic faith than the Franciscans and the Jesuits combined. Beautiful women, king will fall in love with her, and she'll say, not unless you convert. I'm faithful to Jesus Christ first. He'll convert, and little by little he'll bring his entire kingdom with him. We have St. Augustine because we had St. Monica. We have Constantine and the whole renewal of the church in the 4th century because we had St. Helen, his mother, who inspired him into that. And that is why also, who's responsible to teach the children how to pray? The woman. The man is responsible to say that we are going to pray. We're going to pray the rosary tonight, every night as a family. We're going to go to church. We're going to live according to the moral precepts of the church. That's the man's responsibility. But it takes a mother's heart, the feminine heart, to teach their children how to speak to God. Because that sensitive nature of a woman is more, the divine is more palpable to a woman than it can ever be to a man. And so she draws her children into that relationship, into that mystery with God. That's why who taught Jesus how to pray? It was the Blessed Virgin Mary, right? And then, you know what the percentage of mystics in our churches that are female? Some 80%. 80% of the mystics are female because females are naturally more sensitive to that divine transcendent relationship. But that's also a warning, because when piety dies out in the feminine in a church, that's when the church begins to crumble from the inside out. Because what can the body be without the heart? If the heart suffocates a loss of piety and devotion, all the works of the body begin to fall. So where does the wife fit in? The wife, primarily with this gift, is the voice of encouragement for her husband. It's like she's the one like, you can do this. You know, I believe in you. You're stronger than this toilet type of thing. You know, they inspire men to fulfill all their potential from the inside. And it came up the other day, we were talking about this after Mass, and the question came up, what's the difference between nagging your spouse and encouraging your spouse? Someone asked me that, and I have no idea. Ask a woman. We'll find out from them. And so a bunch of women got together, and one of the main words that came up over and over again was inspiration. So nagging is from the outside, inspiration is from the inside. One breaks you down, the other one builds you up from underneath. It's a difference between like standing outside a door and just knocking and pounding to come out versus blowing into an inner tube. You're breathing life into. What I thought was really interesting, I was looking at marriage counseling, how to better your communication with your spouse. I thought it might help with my prayer life with Christ when I'm going through desolation. But this, the advice that came out on that was very much mirrored to the exchange between Christ and the Canaanite woman in today's gospel. Basically what they're saying is that in order for a woman to inspire her man into positive action, three things are necessary. And that's gratitude, appreciation, and humility. Gratitude, appreciation, and humility. First thing is to be grateful. To start from a very positive place of what they're already doing. Secondly, to appreciate them. Like, does your husband know that, like, my life is better because you're in it? My life is better because you're in it. So you start from a deep level of gratitude for their presence. Because if a man feels like he's worthy, like he's doing a good job, he'll be that much more eager to prove himself, right? But if a man doesn't feel like he's ever doing enough, like he's always falling short, what's the point of changing at all? Yeah. One thing I'll say, because I really want to build up the feminine power in this, the most inspiring women I have met, the inspiring persons I've met in my priesthood have been females. But it's the females who have been very appreciative, grateful, and humble in their approach. If people don't appreciate you, if they're not grateful for what you're doing, and then they try to tell you what you should change from the outside, not only does that not move you into action, but there's a dark part in every man that says, well, I'm going to do the exact opposite just to spite what you're asking of me. So last one, humility. The gentle whisper goes far deeper into the heart to change than anything from the outside, than any scream or demand. And the Canaanite woman, she does this so well. For one, she shows herself as so grateful for Christ's presence. When the Jews themselves rejected it, he was going to another land at this time, outside Israel, because he was rejected by Israel. And she herself is so grateful that he came to her. And secondly, she appreciates him. She says, we are better off because you're here. She calls him Lord and King. And then thirdly, she humbly gives him a request to heal her daughter. And when he even seems reluctant, instead of resorting to anger or pestering demands, what does she do? She humbles herself even more. She rides his wave. Even the dogs eat from the scraps on the table. And her gratitude, her appreciation, and her humility are not only what motivate Christ to do the miracle, but he's excited to give it to her. O woman, how great is your faith. Let it be done to you as according to your wish. It's like, doesn't every wife dream of her husband responding to her request in such a way? O woman, great is your faith. Let the toilet be scrubbed according to your desires. And that's the way to it. So that's the power of the feminine mystique. The capacity to penetrate the heart and inspire movement from within. And that's also why, and especially why, devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary is so essential in our life as Christians. She inspires us to a deeper holiness, a deeper surrender from within. Her innocence inspires our purity. Her beauty inspires virtue. And her motherly heart draws us into Christ's own heart in a way that only a woman can do. So I'll offer three ways that we can three sine qua nons, not options, it's things we should be all on the same page on, that we can do to grow in our devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. One is to wear the scapular. To wear the scapular is a sign of Mary's own mantle upon me, that I'm consecrated to her. Secondly, to pray the rosary every single day. It's one of the most powerful means to grow in holiness, especially as a family. The men get the family together to say, we're going to pray the rosary. And the woman teaches them how to pray. And the third thing, if you haven't done it, St. Louis de Montfort, total consecration to Jesus through Mary. It'll transform your life. It's a 33-day novena, and St. John Paul II said that this novena is so powerful, it's the most powerful consecration the Church possesses. And the one who does it, that the fiat of Mary at the moment of the Annunciation, her "let it be done to me according to your will," echoes in the heart of the individual who says this novena. So I become totally surrendered to God's will for me. Again, that's power. And that's why they say if we're devoted to the Blessed Virgin Mary, it's basically impossible for us to ever lose our salvation. Because although Jesus Christ is the head of the mystical body of the Church, Mary is the heart, and she can turn the head whichever way she wants because she turns his heart. As you come forward to receive the Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ, I invite you to do something that many of the saints were accustomed to doing. They'd asked, let me receive the body of Christ through the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Mary, you receive Christ for me into my heart. And the greatness of her faith, by that faith we will penetrate the very heart of God. For that is the power of the feminine mystique.